साटा काटे धुनी के रोम होएन भैया साटा काटे धुनी के रोम होएन भैया साटा काटे धुनी के रोम.
Seasonal and circular migration of labor has become one of the most widely prevalent livelihood strategies of people living in rural areas. According to National Sample Survey figures for 1999-2000, nearly 8.5 million rural people stayed away from their homes for 2 to 6 months. Of these, roughly 3 million were females and 5.5 million were males. A growing number of case studies strongly suggest that these figures grossly underestimate the magnitude of migration. Migrant laborers work in both agricultural and non-agricultural sectors. Agriculture includes the transplanting and harvesting of cereals, pulses, sugarcane, chilies, and other cash crops. Non-agricultural work includes laboring in brick kilns, construction, digging trenches for cables, and rickshaw pulling. Although their efforts are the real engine of growth in several sectors, they remain without an identity and claims on state resources for the entire time that they are on the move. Not only that, they may lose their rights in their homes too. Narayankhed is one of the poorest and most remote areas of Andhra Pradesh, near the borders of Maharashtra and Karnataka. Several villages here are known for their high rates of migration. Madhwar is one such village where nearly 80% of the households have at least one person migrating. Environmental shocks and stresses, as well as unequal regional development, continue to be important drivers of migration. However, migration is not just by the very poor during times of crisis for survival and coping. It has become an accumulative option for several groups of people who have the required skills, contacts, or assets. Sonabai is a lambada. Her family has been migrating to the area around the Ganesh sugarcane factory in Medak for the last 20 years for sugarcane cutting work.
I come from a village near Jogipet. We came here 4 months ago on our own bullock cart. 3 people came with each cart. We have been doing this work for the last 20 years. Previously, we used to work in Medak. This year we came to Chakriyal. We came here because we were told that this factory is very big and enough work is available. We came to know about this place through our people in the neighboring Tandas. Initially, one sugarcane farmer from Chakriyal, Jitendra Reddy, told us about this work here. This year, we came here because we were told that weighing is faster here.
Sugarcane cutting is amongst the more remunerative kinds of migration work. On an average, a family saves 15,000 rupees in a season.
ఇదే నా సంగారెడ్డి ఏరియా, ఇదే మండలం నాది. మావాడు ఇంతకు చెప్పినోడు అత్త ఆ ఏరియా.
I belong to this Sangareddy area and sugarcane farmers are familiar to me. I go to them for work. The wage they offer ranges from 160 rupees to 200 rupees per ton. This big factory was set up around 6 years ago. If things go according to our plan, we'll earn a net income of around 16,000 rupees per season. From this, we repay the money lender from whom we borrow during the Kharif season. In case of an emergency like a wedding, we borrow from him again, saying that we'll repay back after migration. Farmers generally don't cheat us. I have 4 sons. 2 sons are studying at college and one is in school studying 10th standard. And the other son is with me cutting sugar cane while I transport it to the unit.
ముగ్గురు చదువు చేసిన ఇక ఒక్కరు నా దగ్గర నా ఎంట ఉన్నాడు. ఇప్పుడు ఇద్దరు కాలేజ్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఇక ఒకరు 10వ తరగతి ఈ సంవత్సరం, ఒకరు నా ఎంట ఉంటాడు. ఎందుకంటే చెరుకు కొడతాడు. ఇక నేను ఇక్కడ వస్తే ఆయన చెరుకు కొడతాడు.
There are several other examples of accumulative migration in Andhra Pradesh. Some older and well-established migration streams for peak season agricultural work also fall under this category. Migration for non-farm can also be accumulative, as in the case of earth workers from Chittoor who belong to the Vaddi caste. They are employed widely by public works projects all over South India. Migration money has enabled these people to build new houses, buy land, and drill tube wells. Such accumulative migration streams have now become an important source of income for many erstwhile poor and lower caste communities in Andhra Pradesh. Pandare is a Lambada who was an attached labourer but now prefers to work in sugarcane cutting.
10 సంవత్సరం జీతం ఉన్నా ఆడికెళ్ళి
I worked as an attached labourer for 10 years. Later, I borrowed money, bought bullocks and a cart and started sugarcane cutting. Things began improving gradually. We married off 3 of our family members. I also got married. We repaid all our debts.
పెళ్లి చేసినాం, అట్లా బాకీలు కూడా జరుపుతున్నాం. నా పెళ్లి, అన్నల పెళ్లి, అక్కల పెళ్లి.
Accumulative migration usually occurs where labourers possess special skills or assets, or where relations of mutual trust have been established with employers over time, and exploitative middlemen have been cut out.
రైతు తీసుకొస్తాను అనుకో, చెరుకు ఇక్కడ పెట్టింది.
Farmers bring us here to cut sugarcane because of the factory here. We came to know about this through friends and relatives and started doing this work. The factory runs for about 4 months. We come here and work for about 4 months.
అంటే ఇక్కడ రాకడా అంటే చెరుకు కొట్టుకునాలి, ఇది చేయాలి అన్నట్టు.
Sugarcane cutters are required to transport the cane to the crushing unit, and for this they must have a cart hired or owned.
We need an investment of about 30,000 rupees, 20,000 for the bulls and 10,000 for the cart. We borrow from the money lenders at 2 to 3% interest per month. We repay them with the money we take from the farmer.
2 రూపాయలు, 2.5, 3 రూపాయలు.
In this kind of migration, entire families may migrate. Those who come from larger families may leave their children behind. At their destinations, they live in makeshift shacks by the roadside or field. Life is tough during these months, especially for women.
కొడుకు కూర్చున్నాడు లేస్తాం రాత్రి లేస్తాం సార్ 4 గంటలకు 3 గంటలకు 4 గంటలకు లేస్తాం అలా చేసి
We wake up around 4 in the morning and reach the cane field much before the sunrise. We sleep only for about 2 hours. Water is a big problem for us and the bullocks as well. We fetch water from bore wells, but the farmer doesn't allow us to do so regularly. He scolds us, saying that his crop will wither if we take water. We collect twigs and dry branches for firewood. Life is tough here.
అద్దని ఎండ కొడుతుంది మా పంట ఎండిపోతుందని ఎప్పుడైనా లింక్ కాస్తాం ఇట్లా ఇబ్బంది ఉన్నాయి సార్.
Adolescent girls bear the burden of looking after young children, cooking and walking long distances to fetch water and firewood. Expenses are also higher at the destination because migrants must buy everything at the market price: food, medicines and any other supplies. They also stand the risk of losing their entitlements at home. But there are those who are even less fortunate than these sugarcane migrants. Let's take the case of migrants who travel to urban centers to work as construction laborers. In fact, 90% of all construction work is carried out with migrant labor in India. In Andhra Pradesh, these laborers come from the poorer and dry parts of the state. This kind of migration occurs when the very poor are compelled to look for work outside their village due to limited employment at home. Often, they are lower caste people or tribals and are mostly without land and other assets or skills.
ఉన్న కొంచెం భూమి మరో సంవత్సరం దాకా ఆదాయం తిని ఉందామంటే సరిపోదు.
We have a small piece of land. We can't depend on it for the whole year. Our conditions would get worse because we have children and elderly parents. So we migrated to Hyderabad. But there also we don't earn anything. We just manage to feed our family. Life is expensive in the city. We have to buy rations, pay the rent for accommodation and send something to our old parents.
మనుషులకు తోలియాలి, పిల్లలకు తినబెట్టుకోవాలి, అడికాడికేమో బతుకు.
This kind of migration for coping involves a more opportunistic search for work as there is no stable relationship with any particular employer. Such migrants either work as freelancers through labor addas or points where they stand, or work under a contractor or a mason known as a mestri. The advantage of working under a mestri is that some of the uncertainty and cost of finding work is reduced. But mestris take a substantial cut from the laborer's wages.
అడ్డవినుకోతే అది ఎవరన్నా ఇస్తారు. ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ 70-60 ఎవడన్నా ఇచ్చినోడు.
If we go to addas, we'll get 60 to 70 rupees per day, but everyone gets their cut. The person who takes us from addas, mestris and supervisors get their commission from our wages. If we protest, they'll say, that's what people above us give us. If you like, work for us. If not, stop working.
కమిషన్ వీళ్ళ ఇట్లా కమిషన్ తీసుకొని మేము మా సార్ ఇంతనే ఇచ్చిండు, మేము ఇంతనే ఇస్తాం, మీ ఇష్టం ఉంటారు రాండి, రేపటి సంది లేకుంటే లేదు.
With the influx of more migrants each day, there is competition for work. On an average, they work for 3 days in a week. Daily wages range from 80 rupees to 120 rupees, depending on work availability and the nature of the job. Expenses can be very high, particularly for those without the right social networks. If they live in a rented room, they have to pay between 800 rupees and 1,200 rupees per month. Like all other migrant workers, living conditions here are almost subhuman. Contractors also regularly disregard rules and regulations on remunerative wages, equal wages for men and women, adequate living conditions, and safety of the workers.
మొన్న నేను అక్కడ పనిచేస్తే సార్ బిల్డింగ్ కాడ పనిచేస్తే నేను నా భార్య పిల్లగాన్ని పెట్టుకొని
The other day, my wife and I worked at a construction site. We should have got 800 rupees, but the supervisor and watchman gave us only 200 rupees and retained the rest. When we asked them, we were thrown out of the place. So I had a fight with them. We even approached the police, but the police also supported the owner and told us to get lost.
ఇట్లా కొట్టాడ పెట్టుకున్నాడు అంటే అట్లా ఉంది చూడు సార్కి చెప్పంటే సార్కి చెప్తే సార్ ఏం చేస్తాడు అది పోలీస్ స్టేషన్ వరకు పోయినా పోలీసు వాళ్ళు ఏం చేస్తారు వాంతిగా మాట్లాడుతున్నా కానీ నువ్వు దెంగి పోరా ఎందుకు పోయినావు రా అంతనికి.
Children who often accompany their parents to hazardous construction sites suffer from a variety of health problems. Girls are particularly vulnerable to sexual abuse, especially if they are left behind in the huts to manage everyday chores.
ఎట వినిపోతే ఆడోళ్ళకు తోలుకపోతారు ఆడోళ్ళ బతుకు ఆడోళ్ళు.
At the addas, generally the husband and wife don't go to the same place for work. If a woman is alone at the adda, people with lecherous intentions may hire and take her to a deserted place and attack her. The woman can neither tell her husband nor others about the incident. She remains a silent sufferer.
ఉనికి చెప్పుకోలేదు అక్కడ మందికి చెప్పుకోలేదు.
Those who are fortunate enough to work under a skilled person may acquire some skills and enter more cumulative pathways over a period of time. But for the majority, it is not a very comfortable existence, and they would like to enter other more profitable kinds of migration work.
On construction sites, we work only 3 days a week. We stopped migrating to Hyderabad and started migrating to sugarcane fields. The sugarcane farmer gave us 10,000 rupees as advance. We worked on the cane fields and repaid the debt.
These were just two examples of migration in AP, one accumulative and the other coping. There is tremendous diversity in patterns of migration, even from the same village, in terms of caste, gender, age, and the terms of employment. A variety of factors come into play, including skills, assets, ethnicity, and social relations. Regardless of whether migration is accumulative or coping, there is very little organized, accessible support for migrants who face insecurity in their source location as well as their destination. There are several different views on what should be done to address the issue of migration. The mainstream view is that migration should be discouraged by creating employment in villages.
There are many government ongoing programs. For several years, all the programs have been going on, but still the migration continues. It's not as if there are no other programs. There are many programs. In spite of that, migration is also continuing. What I am saying is we need to understand why they are migrating and what can be done to stop them from migrating. This can only be done when we sit with them for a very detailed kind of a session, and this is not something which can be done overnight.
It is believed that migration of labor can be discouraged by increasing the productivity of dry land agriculture. But it could take several years or even decades for natural resource management and agricultural development programs to arrest distress migration. There is also the view that a rights-based approach should be adopted where NGOs, labor unions, state governments and employers work together to ensure laborers' rights. In the meantime, steps need to be taken to support migrants so that their hardships are reduced and they are ensured access to basic needs and social protection.
Government has to take into confidence of different political parties, trade unions and voluntary organizations. They can take all these people into confidence and they can discuss with them and formulate some policies. Then second point, for immediate relief, government can issue identity cards for all these migrating labor.
A noteworthy experiment is the residential school for the children of migrants started in Narayan Khed of Medak district by Sadhana, an NGO. This has been welcomed by migrant households as they can now leave their children behind to continue with their studies. The initiative is supported by UNICEF and the district administration.
This livelihood of adults had an adverse impact on the education of children. We took up a drive for enrollment of children in this district. At the end of the drive, we realized that roughly half of our out-of-school children in the district are in Narayan Khed area. Narayan Khed area in terms of geographic area is about 10% of the district. When when Sadhana started working there, we had a discussion with him, and out of the discussion evolved an idea that if we can open residential bridge courses for the children and then persuade parents of the children in advance to leave their children behind, maybe we can see that education of the children is not affected. So Sadhana took up the job, and we also tried to do it through the local mandal administration. So they interacted with some of the with parents of some of the villages there. They were able to persuade them. We were able to keep about 450 children this year from migrating either along with their parents.
తల్లిదండ్రులు లేనటువంటి టైం లోపల 6 నెలలు వలసపోతున్నటువంటి కుటుంబాల పిల్లలకు బ్రిడ్జ్ క్యాంప్ నిర్వహించడం అనేది ఇది.
The bridge camp we are running is perhaps the first such school for the migrants children in the state. Initially, we got support from UNICEF for the social mobilization and awareness building campaign. Later, the district administration released the funds under DPEP for the bridge camps. If we wait for poverty and migration to alleviate and neglect education, these children will lose 15 to 20 years of their life and can't study at an older age. Through this initiative, we wanted to address the problem of primary education. We have already begun consultations with NGOs and other stakeholders in Mahbubnagar district to start a couple of bridge camps.
దాన్ని వాళ్ళు శాంక్షన్ చేయడం జరిగింది. 3 బ్రిడ్జ్ క్యాంపులు సాధన ఆధ్వర్యంలో నిర్వహించబడ్డాయి.
Other ideas need to be explored further. One is to provide migrants with computerized identity cards that could help them access subsidized food grains, local schools, and basic health care for them as well as their livestock. Much more needs to be done. One has to break away from the common belief and view of looking at migration as a problem. What migrants need is a voice, support to ease their hardships, and recognition of their role in the economy.
साटा काटे धुनी के रो मोहन भाईया, 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 साटा काटे धुनी के